out of the way, guys. Out of the way.
Can you clarify your relationship with Epstein?
Mr. Secretary, why are you in a photo with Jeffrey Epstein on his iPhone?
So that right there was Howard Lutnick showing up to his deposition on Capitol Hill. But when he arrived, Lutnick said he was not going to have a deposition taken. He said he was not going to take the oath, nor was he going to appear on videotape. He said that he'll just sit for a transcribed interview. It's not under oath. So when he says, I don't remember this or that, or if he lies, there's no mechanism to hold him accountable because he's not lying under penalty of perjury, and he's refusing and has refused to be videotaped because he doesn't want the American people watching what just transpired. Now, Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, coordinated this plan with the MAGA Republicans in the House Oversight Committee, led by James Comer. They coordinated it with MAGA Mike Johnson, and they coordinated it at the highest level with Donald Trump and with the Department of Justice. Now, what we can gather from all of the members of Congress who took this transcribed interview in the room was that Lutnick was lying over and over again. When Lutnick was asked why he went to the Epstein Island in the first place with his children and brought other children there, Howard Lutnick says, I don't remember, but he said it is both inexplicable and unsettling, but I don't know why I went there. I don't remember why the kids were there. I'm sorry, I don't recall. He went on to continue to do lie after lie. He was described as evasive, nervous, sweating profusely, completely dishonest, stuttering throughout the entire thing. And then when he was asked, well, you previously told the American people that I never met Epstein after one encounter in 2005. So admit that you lied. And Lutnick says, no. When I said I never met Epstein, I didn't rule out that we met Epstein, meaning I brought my children. So thus there was many of us. So I didn't do it alone. So I actually didn't lie because we met Epstein, me and my children. Look, Lutnick needs to resign. This entire Trump DOJ is involved in a massive cover-up of a child sex trafficking ring. And now on May 29th, when Pam Bondi sits for her supposed to be a deposition, she's going to do the same damn thing. No video camera, a transcribed interview. You remember the Clintons sat for an under oath deposition, and James Comer, the chair of the House Oversight Committee, said, no way can we do transcribed interviews. Those don't have any impact or force or meaning. The Clintons need to show up. The Clintons need to show up. Well, they did. They testified under oath, and now you're protecting Bondi, you're protecting Lutnick, and you're protecting Donald Trump. It is so utterly despicable. It shouldn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. This is a cover-up in plain view. They are giving us all the middle finger right now. So after whatever just took place with Lutnick, where he refused to be on video, and you may be saying, well, why'd the Democrats allow it? The Democrats don't control the House Oversight Committee, so they can't set the format of it. The Democrats were able to force a subpoena, but once the subpoena issues, James Comer, who chairs the Oversight Committee, which is more of the cover-up sex trafficking ring committee, he chooses the format. And he and the Republicans said, transcribed interview, no videotape. The Democrats don't get to override that unless and until Democrats take over the House Oversight Committee. That's just sadly the reality. So this thing ends, and here we hear from Democratic Congress member Subramaniam. He was in the room and questioning Lutnick, and here's what he had to say. Let's play it.
We asked him over and over again, why did you go to the island? He says he doesn't remember, that it was inexplicable. And he simply didn't know how to answer the question at that point.
And here's what Congressmember Ro Khanna had to say. Let's play it.
Why this is such a cover-up. I mean, he refused to say there was any blackmailing, even though he thought that happened in the past. He refused to say that there was any video recording, even though he said in the past that Epstein was video recording these young girls. He refused to say anything abnormal about Epstein's island. So someone obviously got to him from the administration. In fact, he said he talked to people in the administration, and that's why he's changed his tune. And the question is not just why he's lying. The question is why he's covering up, why he's no longer willing to share what he knows about Epstein's abhorrent behavior.
More from Congressmember Khanna right here. Let's play this clip.
We know why that interview was not videotaped. If Donald Trump had seen the video transcript, he would have fired Howard Lutnick. It was really embarrassing. He was asked very straightforward questions about whether he regretted misleading the American people. I mean, he said that he would never see Epstein again in 2005. And everyone knows that he took his wife and kids to see Epstein in 2012. And yet it was just contortions and lies and no acknowledgement that he misled the American public. And if you saw the exchanges that my colleagues had with him, you would see he made a farce of the English language. I mean, he was trying to define I as if saying that what he really meant is that he would not see Epstein alone, but be totally fine with having his wife and kids see Epstein. It made no sense. And then he's raised even more serious concerns about the investigation. He originally had said that Epstein engaged in blackmail and recorded videotapes. Now he's saying, well, he was wrong. He was just speculating, and Epstein actually didn't engage in blackmailing. This raises the question of what the cover-up is. Did someone tell him to say that? I've not heard that that Epstein never engaged in blackmail. Why is Howard Lutnick changing his testimony, changing his story? He's lost all credibility, and really it's a shame that the American people don't get to see what he did there. Total lack of truth and lack of honesty.
Then the MeidasTouch Network caught up with Congresswoman Ansari. Here's what she told us happened.
From Arizona's 3rd District. After what we have seen so far in this transcribed interview, I feel very comfortable saying that Howard Lutnick is a pathological liar who is enabling the most egregious cover-up in American history. We have now gone through the timeline of events with him in detail, in excruciating detail, from when they met in 2005. This is Howard Lutnick and his wife meeting Jeffrey Epstein. He described it himself in great detail on a podcast last year where he said that they went to his home, they took a tour, and allegedly were so uncomfortable after seeing the massage tables at Jeffrey Epstein's home that Howard Lutnick went on this podcast to tell the American people that he himself, and my colleagues referenced the definitions he tried to change of what he meant there, but he said that he would never socially or professionally be involved or be in a room with Jeffrey Epstein again. Then in 2012, he took his family and his staff to Jeffrey Epstein's island. I focus my questions today on how he could have done that if him and his wife were truly so uncomfortable, especially when in 2008, we know that Jeffrey Epstein was accused and the sweetheart deal took place for soliciting a minor. Howard Lutnick tried to tell us in that room that he essentially didn't know any of that. I asked him, how did I, as a child at the time, see this all over the media about Jeffrey Epstein, and you, an adult who is this person's neighbor who had engaged with him before, how could you possibly not have known? I mean, the level of the lies that are taking place inside that room without video is unbelievable and part of this egregious cover-up. I recommend that every single American, when this interview is released, read the document in full. You will see Howard Lutnick use phrases like how it's inexplicable and unsettling that he went to the island. That's how he defines it himself. It's inexplicable how this happened. He also tries to define all of their interactions as quote unquote meaningless and inconsequential. I think he's used those terms about 20 times so far and continues to use them. So I will just end by saying that there are real victims here. There are potentially over 1,000 women who were abused and raped when they were children. And even at the bare minimum, Howard Lutnick was aware of these things. He knew. It just demonstrates the culture of enabling these crimes and allowing rich and powerful people like Jeffrey Epstein and all of the other disgusting rich and powerful men who committed these crimes to continue. Because people like Howard Lutnick knew these things were happening because they were all over the news and continued to engage and legitimize somebody like Jeffrey Epstein.
More from Congressmember Subramaniam as he answered our questions with our cameras. We're right outside the room. Let's play it.
Yeah, I agree. Howard Lutnick should resign. That was absolutely mind-boggling what we just heard in the room. He was evasive, nervous, he was dishonest. He would not admit to lying, which he clearly did in the podcast. He said he was never in the room with Jeffrey Epstein ever again after the first time he met him. Yet he then admitted that he was in the room with Jeffrey Epstein. I had to ask him whether he and I were in the same room just now because I couldn't understand his meaning of we were in the same room together. And then he said that Jeffrey Epstein was a sick man, that he would never want to be in the room with him again. Yet he was in the room with him again when he visited his island where Jeffrey Epstein raped women, underage women, and he brought his kids and his friends with him to that island when he met with Jeffrey Epstein. He said he never met with Jeffrey Epstein again socially, yet he admits that was a social visit to his island. And so he was clearly being dishonest. He was clearly being evasive. And finally, he doesn't remember why he went to Jeffrey Epstein's island, which is also mind-boggling. He somehow remembers going to the island after pictures surfaced of him being at the island, but he does remember why he went to the island. And we had the emails. That's why we found out he was at the island. This is absolutely absurd, and he should resign.
Then we spoke with Democratic Congressmember Walkinshaw. Here's what he said.
Today, Chairman Comer said that he hadn't seen any evidence of wrongdoing by Secretary Lutnick. And that's actually the problem with the Trump administration, this Republican majority in Congress, because lying to the American people is wrongdoing. And Howard Lutnick lied to the American people. I hope today that we would have heard some remorse, some contrition from Secretary Lutnick for flat out lying to the American people. Instead, what we've heard thus far is hours of testimony where he's attempting to redefine the meaning of the word I. He claims that when he said, I would never be in a room again with Jeffrey Epstein, he meant only him and Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein was so gross to him, so disgusting, that he wasn't willing to be in a room with him, but he was perfectly okay with his wife and family being in a room with Epstein. He's lying. And today's transcribed interview is part of the ongoing cover-up, because the American people deserve to see the video of what's taking place in there. They deserve to see the sweat on the secretary's brow as he struggles to answer basic questions about his lies to the American people. So we're going to continue to listen and ask tough questions, but unfortunately it appears that Secretary Lutnick is not going to take any responsibility for lying to the American people today.
And again, I want to remind you what went down, 2 or 3 weeks ago when Lutnick was testifying under oath before the House committee. This was in connection with the budget. The House members were asking him about his connections with Epstein. But Lutnick said, I'm not going to answer here. I've made a deal with the House Oversight Committee. Well, now we know what that deal was, that you're not going to be under oath, you're not going to be videotaped, and it's an extension of the cover-up. It's despicable. Play this clip of Congresswoman Dean cross-examining Lutnick. Let's play it.
With the survivors, I again went to the Department of Justice to review the unredacted Epstein files, to seek accountability and justice for the victims, the more than 1,000 victims and survivors. And today, Secretary Lutnick, I have some questions for you about what I saw. Let's start with your relationship with sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. In October, you told the New York Post with colorful narration that the last time you saw Jeffrey Epstein was in 2005 when you took a tour of his house, which happened to be right next door to yours. You claim you and your wife were so grossed out by this disgusting person, you swore you would never go back. But when the Epstein files came out, it turned out that was a lie. You were forced to admit that you had visited Epstein's private island in 2012. 4 years after Epstein pled guilty soliciting a minor for prostitution and was labeled a sex offender. You brought along your wife, your kids, your nannies to the predator's island. Incredibly poor judgment. But that even wasn't the whole truth. It turns out that 5 days after visiting his island, you and Epstein signed a business deal together. As co-investors in a digital advertising company, Adfin. And emails showed you stayed in touch with Epstein about this deal as late as 2018. Secretary Lutnick, why did you lie to the New York Post about your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? Oh, I did hear that. Please don't repeat your gracious offer to speak behind closed doors, not under oath, without the ability of this committee to question you. The American people wants to know, why did you lie about your relationship with Epstein?
The House Oversight Committee and I have agreed.
We are
will
the
spend
appropriate
the time
reclaiming my
together.
time. I do not accept that answer. We've heard that one. We are our own committee. We have our own reason to test your credibility and veracity. Please answer the question. Why did you lie to the Post?
I have voluntarily agreed to spend the time and talk about it.
I reclaim the time. Let the record reflect you're dodging the question. The cover-up continues. You know what?
She also asked him about his financial ties. Here's what he said. Play this clip.
If President Trump has even a shred of concern about accountability for Jeffrey Epstein's enablers, he would fire you too. Beyond Adfin, what other financial ties do you have to Jeffrey Epstein?
As I said, I'm going to answer all these.
Beyond Adfin, what other financial ties? You're the Commerce Secretary. We have a right to ask this question and get it answered.
Again, I'm not going to spend the budget day discussing something. I've set aside time to spend on this topic.
I'm going to
with your
switch
House
topics.
colleagues.
Let me switch topics.
And then Donald Trump runs around saying Lutnick is a very innocent guy. This is what Trump recently said. Let's play this clip.
Howard Lutnick. What is your reaction to that?
Well, Howard would go in and do whatever he has to say. He's a very innocent guy. He's doing a good job.
Really, one of Epstein's best friends, Donald Trump, says Lutnick, one of Epstein's other close friends, very good guy. Do you see the Epstein class in action here? Once again, let me repeat. If you're a Republican, if you're a MAGA person and you're into what I'm showing you, if you like what I've just shared with you, there's no way I can ever reason with you of anything logical. Like, you are a gross person if you're okay with this cover up that's taking place. At a bare minimum, shouldn't we have these things happen under oath? You're okay with it being hidden? Like, you realize you're being played, huh? Because here was Lutnick partying with his kids on Epstein Island. Look at him having the time of his life. He's super happy. He's a happy dude. Here was Lutnick, of course, during that New York Post interview where he goes, that guy Epstein, he's gross. He's gross. To which Miranda Devine said, so why do all these people hang out with him? Lutnick was one of the people who hung out with him, but Lutnick had pretended in this interview he didn't. No, he's one of the greatest blackmailers of all time. Play it.
I mean, that's an incredible story that you could pick up that he was a pervert.
It's gross. The guy's gross. Right with my wife. He's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money. So
So what happened to those videos? Why is there now such a dearth of information when, Donald Trump's people are running the FBI and the DOJ?
I assume way back when they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits and be out of jail. I mean, he's a serial sex offender. How could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? It must have been a trade. So my assumption, I have no knowledge, but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
And have you talked to Donald Trump about this and shared your theory?
No, I mean, he knows the story.
Right.
But my story, that, I was one and done with the guy. He knows that story, but that's it.
And then finally, Lutnick said he never had any future interactions with Epstein. But show this photo, guys, right here. This was Epstein's home, 9 East 71st Street, Upper East Side. Here was Lutnick's home, 11 East 71st Street. Their homes were attached. Their townhouses were attached to each other. Here's what Lutnick said. Let's play it.
And there's a massage table in the middle of the room. And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. And he says, and the right kind of massage. Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
And then you had Lutnick being asked by Senator Van Hollen during a recent hearing about his children being at the island. Play the clip.
It's the fact that you believe that you misled the country and the Congress based on your earlier statements, suggesting that you cut off all contact when in fact you had not. When you visited the private island, did you see anything inappropriate during that visit?
The only thing I saw with my wife and my children and the other couple and their children was staff who worked for Mr. Epstein on that island.
And you realize that, this visit took place after he'd been convicted, right? I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution of a minor. And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions. Did you have a dinner in Epstein's New York City home in 2011?
No.
So the information that suggests that there was a dinner with Woody Allen and Woody Allen's spouse at the Epstein residence, that's there's nothing to that. Is that right?
I actually don't know what you're referring to. There was, look, I looked through the millions of documents for my name, just like everybody else. And what I found was there was a document that says that I had a meeting with him on, in May, I think, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Not dinner or otherwise, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
All right.
Let me know what you all think, folks. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.